How's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. Hope you're having a good day, and welcome to another Pokemon GO video. Alright, so we need to talk about the Heading to Hoenn Mega Raid Day event that we had over the weekend. A lot of players feel as though Niantic scammed them through some misleading text regarding Rare Candy XL, as well as a bunch of other things. I, along with several other players in the community, feel like Niantic needs to take responsibility. I'm going to be talking about all of this in today's video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, so over the weekend, I participated in the Heading to Hoenn Mega Raid Day. While I had no intention of purchasing the ticket that was accompanying this event, I was actually gifted that ticket by a fellow player. So my experience was that of someone who spent money for specific perks. One of those perks that Niantic advertised was an increased chance at getting Rare Candy XL from these raids. I mean, aside from the Mega Energy for these powerful Mega Evolutions, I really thought amassing a ton of these super hard to get items was a really good value for the $5 ticket. Well, as it turns out, the rate at which you got Rare Candy XL was still abysmally low, even if you had purchased a ticket. A lot of players see this as a massive scam, because most of them were only buying the ticket for these specific items. The wording on the ticket itself was very similar to the wording that was used regarding the guaranteed Rare Candy XL per raid that we saw last week with the Ultra Beast Arrival event. The wording on the Ultra Beast Arrival event stated that there would be an increased chance at getting Rare Candy XL from in-person raids. The wording on the Hoenn Mega Raid Day event ticket says increased chance at getting Rare Candy XL. As you can see, the wording was pretty much identical. Thus, a lot of players assumed it would be a guaranteed rate, at least for ticket purchasers. Unfortunately, this ended up not being the case. For many players who were expecting this, what they instead ended up with was maybe 2 or 3 Rare Candy XL after defeating about 15 raids. Some players got lucky and were able to get much more, but for the vast majority of players, especially those who bought the ticket, they barely got any. For my own personal experiences as a ticket holder, I was able to get about 8 total Rare Candy XL after completing about 30 raids. Since I didn't end up spending any money for this event, I didn't think of this as a disappointment, but rather, I felt disappointed for others who did spend money on this ticket, hoping for a bunch of this particular item. No matter how you spin it, this really was a scummy move on Niantic's part. They first have a raid day event that costs no additional money that grants players a guaranteed Rare Candy XL per raid. They then have another raid day just a week later, saying that they are including the same bonus for Rare Candy XL but this time at a cost, and then they in turn do not give the same bonus. If they were intending to have a non-guaranteed Rare Candy XL bonus for this Hoenn Mega Raid Day, then the wording on the ticket should have been reflecting it. While I understand that saying that the rate at which you get it is increased does not imply that it would be guaranteed, the fact that they used the same wording for when they did guarantee it beforehand is very misleading. I know that players will come out of the woodwork to defend Niantic here. It's true that in a vacuum, they are not obligated to make the rate at which you get Rare Candy XL be guaranteed per raid. However, this is a semantics issue. No matter how much you try to defend it, the fact of the matter is that Niantic did use the same wording. A ton of players were only motivated to buy this $5 ticket because they wanted an extension of the guaranteed Rare Candy XL bonus from the Ultra Beast Arrival event. You really can't fault those players for believing that the bonus would be the exact same, because Niantic's wording was the exact same. So where do we go from here? Well, I do think as a community, we need to call Niantic out. I firmly believe this was intentional, and probably a strategic move to get more players to buy this ticket. The reality is, this ticket really didn't hold any inherent value apart from this particular bonus. Getting enough Mega Energy for a Mega Evolution only requires 1 raid completed. You can farm up more energy, but it's not necessary with the current Mega Evolution system. I'm sure Niantic was fully aware of this, so they included a bonus related to Rare Candy XL in order to drive more players into buying this ticket. However, they wanted to curb the amount of this item that players would get, so that they can continue to do legendary in-person raids outside of this event to keep collecting them. It just looks really scummy at the end of the day. Without hearing Niantic's side in this matter, it just looks like a huge bait and switch scheme to squeeze out more money from their players. I'm actually quite disgusted at this behavior from Niantic. For better or for worse, Niantic has been a consumer-friendly studio until recently. out of the blue, they became more and more greedy with their actions, and I feel like this particular controversy is just furthering that notion. Aside from this particular scam, we've had to deal with worse and worse bundle boxes, special event ticket prices getting much larger, and having powerful and unique Pokemon getting locked behind a paywall. Niantic is truly becoming just another terrible AAA studio like Activision or EA, and it's really sad to see because for a while before all of this, I like to think of them as one company that at least knew how to respect the money of their players. I think if we want this company to change for the better, we need to speak out with our wallets. Mindlessly purchasing these sort of tickets will encourage Niantic to try to push the boundaries further and further. I think we need to adopt a sentiment of self-control whenever Niantic is clearly trying to nickel and dime us. Otherwise, we are going to see this game's monetization get more and more egregious, and it will eventually lead to a point where this game will just not survive. I firmly believe these sorts of actions eventually lead to the death of a game. It's going to be up to Niantic to realize that more consumer friendliness and more respect towards players will be rewarded with increased revenue. I really hope they come to that conclusion soon, because it's seemingly becoming a weekly thing at this point, and I can't see the game surviving this continuous onslaught of negativity. Speaking of which, let me please remind you to not harass any particular Niantic employees. While I do think we need to continue to speak out against these horrible practices, harassing individuals at Niantic is not going to get us what we are looking for. Let's try to be as constructive as possible and provide feedback through positive means. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Now, since this is a hot topic of discussion, I would love to know your thoughts down below. Did you purchase a ticket for this Hoenn Mega Raid Day? Were you disappointed at the lack of Rare Candy XL? Leave your thoughts in the comments and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, so if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. Some of my patrons will tell you, I'm pretty good at inviting them to raids on a consistent basis. That is because I prefer to do in-person raids and I'm always prioritizing my patrons when it comes to raid invites. So if you're looking for that help with raids or you would like more invites remotely, then becoming a patron is a great way for getting just that. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.